Hello and welcome back to the farm. Well, over the past year, you've come on a journey with me as I've been attempting to renovate a very old rundown farm. And while we focused largely on the front field for this past year, one project that is still a ways off has been on my mind, and that's my back acreage, which is largely pine forest. I really want to build a cabin back there. Call it a hunting cabin, call it a large shed, call it whatever you want. I want a place where I can escape that has a fireplace and some living accommodations, running water. I have ample property to do it, but there's a few things that are standing in my way. The first issue, which isn't really a big issue, is that I have wetlands on my property protected by the New York State DEC. When I bought the property, I had the DEC come out over this past summer, in fact, and they mapped the front portion of my property. You may have seen in previous videos that I have wetland tags up around my front acreage. This is thanks to the work that was done this past summer. This coming summer, the DEC is going to come back and they're going to map the back region of my property, which hasn't been mapped in probably 15 years. I cannot identify a location where I could potentially put a cabin until the DEC comes out, maps the area, and identifies empty and open area which is available for me to play with, which isn't really protected. In this back property, I have roughly 15 acres, and the DEC representative who came out to my property just last week told me that there's probably a good amount of space back here that isn't wetland. Currently, it's still winter, and I have no plans of building anything next summer. But I'd rather have the formal work done by the professionals as early as possible so that when I am ready to start that project, I don't have to wait for the bureaucracy portion of the project to be completed. Now, for anybody who's ever built a house or any sort of structure, there's usually a logical workflow that you go through from start to finish. Now, the project usually begins with people identifying a house plan, looking for different styles that fit their needs, making sure space is adequate, going through the building's elevation diagrams and fine-tuning it to their needs. And then once all of that is selected, you usually hire a construction company, which starts with surveying. And then once the site is surveyed, construction equipment starts to come out and clear the land. And then once the land is cleared, then construction proper can begin. Of that entire process, though, probably one of the most simultaneously fun and annoying parts, though, is finding house plans. There's millions to choose from, and so many of them get close, but just aren't right for what you want. So let me finally introduce the topic that we're discussing in this video, and that is AI, or artificial intelligence. And no, I'm not talking about the stuff of sci-fi movies. I'm talking about the emerging world of consumer-grade artificial intelligence available today to just about everyone, which can help revolutionize the way that you design and envision a house or a cabin. Before we dive in, I wanted to take a second to define what artificial intelligence actually is, for those who may not know or for those who don't have a technical background. Artificial intelligence, or AI as it's known, refers to the ability of a machine or a computer system to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. This can include understanding languages, or recognizing patterns, or learning, or even decision making. There's a lot of different ways to create artificial intelligence, but one common method is through a process called machine learning. This involves feeding a computer system a large amount of data and using algorithms to allow the system to learn and to improve at a specific set of tasks over time. For example, let's say we want to create an AI system that can identify objects in images. We would start by collecting a large data set of images and labeling them with the names of whatever objects they contain. We would then use the data set to train a machine learning model. During the training process, the model would use the labeled images to learn what different objects look like. It would do this by analyzing the patterns and the features in the images, and then using that to make predictions about what the objects are or what they represent. As the model continues to learn from more and more data, it becomes more accurate at identifying objects in images. Once the model's been trained, we could then use it to make predictions about new and unseen images. The model will use what it's learned from the training data and make educated guesses about what objects are present in the new images. Or it could even use context cues or descriptive statements to generate images based on our input. So I'm going to introduce two tools that, when used together, will allow you to do amazing things. The first one is called ChatGPT by the company OpenAI. The second one is called MidJourney. Now, OpenAI ChatGPT is a natural language artificial intelligence response system, where MidJourney creates images based on natural language prompts that you provide to the service. So let's start by discussing ChatGPT. Once you go to the website and create an account, there's a text box at the bottom, and all you do is enter something in there that you want. So for example here, I'm asking the service to write a unique rental agreement for an apartment that complies with New York State law and benefits the tenant. Once I hit enter, ChatGPT, by using the power of artificial intelligence, creates an entire contract for me. Now keep in mind, the service isn't searching the internet or anything, it's creating this by itself. So I'm going to refine my search simply by saying, change the contract so that the landlord pays all of the utilities and so that pets are allowed. And once again, I just hit the enter key, and ChatGPT thinks about it, revises what it already created, and comes up with another completely unique agreement inclusive of those conditions that I just stipulated. Based on everything that it just created for me, I'm now going to ask ChatGPT to assess what it created and let me know what the risks are to the tenant of this contract. And just like that, it goes through and it creates the risks. ChatGPT is quickly becoming an indispensable tool on the internet. It can answer all sorts of questions and generate its own knowledge. So now that we see how to create text-based artificial intelligence assets, let's look at MidJourney. Now MidJourney creates images based on text prompts that you enter. MidJourney lives on a Discord server, so you first have to learn how to use Discord. But as you're on the service, you could scroll through and look at all of the images that people are creating. Now, much like the other service, there's a text box at the bottom, and this is where you enter your prompts. And the prompts start with /imagine, and then whatever you want it to create. So here I'm simply going to ask it to create a barn in the middle of a pumpkin field. And let's see what it's going to create. Now once you submit your prompt, it's going to tell you that it's processing, and then it's going to go through a sequence of processes, and you can see other people's work being generated. And then it's going to spit out 4 images that it creates based on your prompt. Now you have to realize it doesn't know what you're thinking, so this is what it thinks you're trying to create. Now once you identify which one of the 4 you want to work with, there's some options. There's V1234 and U1234. U means upscale. That means keep it as it is and just make it bigger. V means variations. So you pick the one you want to make variations of, and it'll create 4 more variations. There's also a recycle button which regenerates another set of 4 based on your initial prompt. So I'm going to pick the first image, and I'm going to regenerate 4 more images based on that one. The artwork that this service makes based on people's text prompts, it's really amazing. Some of these images are beautiful. Now you could watch the process of the creation of your images, or you could just continue to scroll down and see what other people are working on. But here we see it generated 4 more variants based on the first one that I selected. Now all you do here is pick which one you like, and once again you can either upscale or you can create variants, just like we did before. I'm going to create 4 more variants of the 4th barn image in the sequence. I like that one, but I want to see a few more options. And after a minute or two, here's 4 more options. From here, I really like the first one, so I'm going to hit U1, which is upscale 1, and it's going to spit out a full-size rendered image of this one single selection. All you do is click on it, and you can see the original image, and there it is. Artificial intelligence created this. Amazing. Now this is the more complex of the two services because the text prompts that you create have to be ultra specific and they have to meet certain criteria, and you may not know how to do that. So this is where we put both of these concepts together. How do we use ChatGPT to create prompts for MidJourney to create the required text that the service needs in order to generate images? So now is where you get to exercise your creativity. Think of all of the things that you want in your cabin. For example, in mine, I want an image or images of small cabins in the woods. I want my cabin to not be any larger than 15 by 25 feet. I want green vertical metal siding. I want it to have 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom. I want it to result in high resolution, ultra realistic imagery from the MidJourney service. I want an architectural presentation package, and I want a floor plan. Now those last 3, those are very important prompts that you have to include in the MidJourney process so that it spits out the type of imagery that will actually be useful to you. So now let's take this information and let's put this into ChatGPT and tell it to create a prompt to design a cabin based on these requirements. So here we go. Back over at the ChatGPT website, in the text box on the bottom of the screen, I'm essentially going to tell it, using English sentences, exactly what I want MidJourney to create. Now, I don't have to write this cryptically. I don't have to do anything special here. I simply have to be as detailed as possible so that ChatGPT knows how to format the best possible prompt so that MidJourney spits out exactly what I need it to spit out image-wise. Now, while this is being created, let me interject here that I know this is very complicated, and some of you may not have a lot of computer expertise or may not have experience with Discord or artificial intelligence or anything like this. But there's tons of YouTube videos on how to use ChatGPT and how to use MidJourney. So if you're struggling to convert the vision in your head of what you want your house or cabin or project or anything to look like, this is the best way to do it. Take a few minutes, go through YouTube, check out some tutorials, sign up for the necessary accounts, and give it a shot. The best way to learn how to do it is to actually take the time and do it. So now I'm done entering the text. I hit enter, and ChatGPT is telling me that it is spitting out a prompt for my MidJourney project. Excellent. All I have to do now is select this, copy it, and now we're going to go over to MidJourney and put this thing in there. So moving back over to the MidJourney website, which again is a Discord server site, we're going to scroll all the way down through everything that everybody else is working on. Again, there's some interesting stuff in here. There always is. We're going to go back down to that chat box at the very bottom, and I'm going to type in /imagine, and then in the prompt I'm going to paste in what ChatGPT created for me, and then I'm going to hit enter. It's going to process for a little bit. It's going to scroll through what other people are working on, and then eventually it's going to spit out 4 options of what I asked it to create. The 4 options are fairly interesting. They're very modern. So by clicking on the quad, I could see what it has created, and I can go through and pick one of these that I either want to upscale, which is to create a larger version, or to create variations of. And I think in this case, I'm going to create variations of number 4 Because number 4 gave me that architectural package. The architectural package is usually an interior shot or rendering and a floor plan. Keep in mind, however, these are not always reflective of the house that it designed. It's just simply adding graphical elements to create an architectural package. It's not necessarily an accurate architectural package. It's kind of weird to think about, but this is more for visualization than for engineering accuracy. But anyway, here's the next 4 that it spit out for me. These are variants of one of the previous items that it previously generated. So in this case, I'm going to pick number 2, and I'm going to create another set of variants from number 2. You can see its workflow as it's designing, and then it'll eventually spit out 4 more. As you can see, there's not major differences between them, but I like number 4 in the bottom right corner. So what I'm going to do is simply upscale this particular one. That is the U4 button, upscale 4. And then it's going to continue on processing other people's work. It's going to do mine in the background, and eventually it's going to spit out a singular photo, fully rendered, of my option number 4. I can click on it, I can hit the original link, view original, and there it is. It's very modern though, and I don't necessarily like things very modern. So I think I'm going to go back and change the prompt, and we're going to try and create something whimsical. But as you can see in this rendering, the image on the top doesn't necessarily match up to what you would expect from the image on the bottom left, nor do the floor plans in the bottom right align to either of those other two. Also, when you render things here, disregard the words. The words don't mean anything, it's gibberish. It knows that it needs words, but it hasn't been given a prompt. So anyway, let's go back into ChatGPT. Let's give it another set of criteria to create a MidJourney prompt based on. So in this example, we're going to delve into the realm of fantasy a little bit. I'm going to ask it to create a traditional one-story cabin, similarly to the previous exercise, 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, but this time I'm going to ask it to have the exterior made of stone and to have the house designed in a style that looks like Hagrid's hut from the Harry Potter series. If you've ever watched the Harry Potter movies or read the books, you'll probably have a picture in your mind's eye of what this should be. So this is really going to push the creative limits of what you would typically think of when you're creating a visualization for a home plan or a cabin plan. We're kind of mixing the realms of fantasy and reality with this one. But aside from all that, we're going to then add all the standard boilerplate stuff that we entered into the previous prompt about high resolution and all that stuff. And then we're going to hit enter, and it's going to generate a prompt. Now what you're going to notice is that the prompt that ChatGPT generates is very, very similar to what I have typed in down below. So anyway, here's the prompt, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Select it, copy it, and then we're going to jump back into MidJourney and paste it in there. Okay, so once we make it back over to the MidJourney website, we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. In the text box at the bottom of the screen, we're going to type /imagine, and in the prompt area, we're going to paste in what ChatGPT created for us. We're then going to hit enter. It's going to process behind the scenes, and in a few seconds, it'll spit out a series of cabin designs based on the Harry Potter series of what it thinks Hagrid's hut might look like. So here they are. They're pretty nice. They're definitely whimsical. I happen to like the top right one here. So what I'm going to do is create variations V2 of the second one. And it's going to process behind the scenes. And it's going to work on it and then spit out 4 more images based on the second image. And here we go. In this particular instance, I happen to like the bottom left, number 3. As you can see, there are very fine differences between all 4 of these images. So I'm just going to go ahead and upscale number 3. Now I did pick variations on another one of the images, the one that had the sub-image in it. And I like the third one here. So I'm going to do the exact same thing we did before. I'm going to make some variations of the third one. And it's going to process. And we're going to get a couple things here. First, we're going to get the upscale version of the first cabin, and we could see the original. That's pretty cool. And then we're going to go back into MidJourney, and we're going to look at the second cabin that we selected. It's processing everything behind the scenes, and we're going to get an upscaled version. And here it is. And that one is also very nice and whimsical. The image in the upper left-hand corner here doesn't really correlate to what's going on in the home image. It's just a graphical element that the artificial intelligence added. But look at this. These are 2 cabin designs in a whimsical fairy tale style created based on our prompts. How awesome is this? Now there's a couple things that I want you to remember. Now that we've done the examples, MidJourney was created to generate art. And it was created to generate art in various styles. Other things that people might want to use it for, such as graphic design or vector illustration or architecture, may not turn out exactly like you plan. The other thing is artificial intelligence driven CAD systems, CAD being computer aided design, don't really exist yet. Some packages have an AI workflow in them, but certainly nothing like ChatGPT or MidJourney. And the other thing I want you to realize is that there are specific software packages for home design, and these exist for a reason. They exist for wiring layouts and plumbing layouts, and for dimensional drawings and architectural packages. These things are all needed when you build a house. So what are the takeaways here? Well, there's a couple things. First, consumer-level artificial intelligence is mainstream now. Services like ChatGPT, MidJourney, and a host of others are available for you to use to express your creativity and to experiment with. Second, if you're building a house or designing a cabin or creating anything, and you're lost amidst millions of possibilities, but you have a clear vision in your head, you can use these services to help refine that image in your head and then ultimately generate the image based on artificial intelligence, so long as you can describe it properly in text. Now, am I going to use any of these designs for my own cabin on my property? Probably not. But I do have a vision in my mind of what I would like my cabin to look like. And I have not yet found anything similar to it on any home design websites or cabin design websites. So I will likely use MidJourney to create an image of what I think the cabin should look like, and then I will simply freeform build it from there. So we've reached the end of this video. I hope you've learned a little something about artificial intelligence and about consumer-grade web-based AI systems. And I hope you'll take the opportunity to search YouTube and view the dozens and dozens and dozens of different videos available on both of these services. And I hope you'll experiment with them. So, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next video.